I've been a chef for a long time. I'm not going to say how many years, but it's over 20. And I always had a passion for eating, which is what it goes quite well with food. And my parents inspired me. They kind of taught me about food. I mean, we used to go on lovely holidays to Italy and France, and we'd always eat out in restaurants. And I kind of loved the whole atmosphere of a restaurant. I thought, I just loved the idea of going out somewhere. You sort of get dressed up and you go for a meal. And they taught me about quality of food and appreciating good food. From a quite young age, I kind of knew this is being a chef is what I wanted to do, because I just love food. And I remember getting a job just to earn some extra pocket money working in a restaurant, and I was in the kitchen, and it was a little French bistro, and the chef was Spanish. And there was a really good atmosphere in the kitchen. I loved the atmosphere in the kitchen, the environment of the kitchen. It was stressful, it was hot, it was, there was lots of things going on. And I just loved all the smells. And I remember thinking, this is, I used to get so excited about going to work. It was quite strange. And so that passion's always remained, and I still have that passion to this day. What inspires and motivates me? Lots of things. I mean, I think everyday life can, you can always pick things up. I mean, I do go to Italy to get inspiration. I love going to visit new suppliers. I love to go and sort of see producers. I always think going to see a producer always is inspiring. I mean, recently I just came back from Emilia-Romagna and saw Parmesan being made. And just sort of seeing the process of Parmesan being made, or seeing prosciutto di Parma being made, even though it's very simple and it's a product already made, it kind of inspires you to sort of use that product in different ways. So when I'm preparing dishes in the kitchen, I'm always thinking about flavours and textures, and again seasonality, and what's the best way to use a product, because sometimes you have a most beautiful vegetable or a piece of fish or a piece of meat, and sometimes the best thing to do is keep it as simple as possible, because if you've got wonderful produce, you don't need to do too much to it. So I'm very much less is more, and I like the fact that you can actually get the true flavour out of an ingredient, and that for me is, that if you can get that right and you can balance with other ingredients to make a complete dish, then I'm very happy. I've had lots of great moments in my career. I mean, my restaurant Theo Randall at the Intercontinental, we've won numerous awards. In 2007, we won Italian Restaurant of the Year, and that was such a great accolade, because having been working so hard for someone else, to actually do it myself was quite an achievement, and it was just so nice for the team, because everyone had been working so hard to kind of start this restaurant up. And when we won that award, that was very special. The nice thing about awards is awards are recognition, but the thing about restaurants is it's every day. Every day is different, and you always want to thrive and create better food. And so, every day when I'm in the kitchen, I'm always thinking about how we can improve things, what dishes we can put on, and it's always about nurturing your staff, keeping everyone happy, keeping your customers happy. And it's quite an organic thing, a restaurant. It really needs a lot of love and attention and care. And you've got to be patient with things. Things just don't happen like that. So you have to be patient. You have to nurture. And I feel very I'm very proud of the position I'm in, because I have a fantastic team, and a lot of my team have been with me for a long time. So I feel like I've created a good environment. What's most exciting about being on Intercontinental Hotels Group Culinary panel is the fact that I can express my view on food and all my experience, and show that, because being on this panel, it's all about being a consultant, and I love what I do, and being able to sort of show that and to let other people experience my passion and the food I cook is it's a wonderful thing to be part of. And I think over time, being able to produce recipes that will be used, and to just try and inspire people, because the thing about cooking is it's all about passion. It's all about being inspired. And I think to actually be part of that, and to my speciality is Italian food, to be able to sort of show my experience and be able to kind of let other people learn from me it's great to be part of that. I'm very, as I said before, I'm very passionate about the fact that food has to be consistent. And so some of the recipes are very simple, but they are of a very high standard and using quality ingredients. And I'm much more into having great ingredients and keeping it simple to produce a very good dish. So, for instance, we have a dish with these different roasted vegetables, these wonderful root vegetables. And in the restaurant, we roast them in the wood oven. So we sort of blanch the vegetables, we mix them with garlic and thyme, and we slow cook them. And they get this lovely sort of caramelized effect on the outside. And we just very simply serve it with a roasted rack of lamb with a salsa verde, but a very kind of fresh salsa verde using lots of different herbs. And for me, that's great food. It's not lots of sauces, it's not complicated, but it's just really good food. And one other dish I absolutely adore is a fish stew, which is one of the signature dishes from the restaurant, where we use lobster, we have red mullet, we have sea bass, we have clams, and we use little potatoes cooked in saffron. And there's this beautiful broth made with the tomatoes and all the fish bones and all the lobster shells. So you just basically use everything. So you get all the flavours together. But the great thing is the fish is cooked to order. So you have this beautiful broth, and then you poach the fish in the broth. And it's just the best way. All the dishes are cooked last minute. It's not loads of sort of slow cooking. It's last minute cooking. It's just the preparations beforehand. So you get plenty and plenty of flavour. Probably the most amazing dish I've eaten, one of the most memorable ones. Actually, I've had a lot, but I remember having one dish which was a fish that was baked in a salt crust, and it was a turbot, and it was a sort of large, big, thick steak, about 2 kilo, from a massive turbot fish. And I remember these waiters bringing this dish up on this tray and putting it onto the table next to it. And it looked like a sort of leather suitcase. It was a salt crust with flour, and it had been like an egg wash on the outside to keep it all sealed. And they cut this sort of salt and flour crust and opened this lid like a suitcase, and the smell, the vapour of the fish came out. And I'll never forget their faces when they opened it up, and their smiles on their faces, because food is not just about what comes in the kitchen, it's how it's presented on the table, and particularly dishes that are sharing for 2 people I always find very exciting. And they lifted up this piece of fish, and they pulled back the skin, and they lifted these beautiful white lobes of flesh, turbot flesh. And underneath the turbot, they'd basically baked this fish on lobster shells. And with the fish, they've got this little lobster butter, a little bit of lobster butter on top. And they served it with the most delicious and very simple steamed turnips. So you had this white fish, white steamed turnip, and then this pink butter. And I tell you what, it was one of the most amazing experiences, because it was just so perfectly balanced. And then I remember having this plate of pasta, which was just a very simple egg tagliarini, so a very fine egg pasta. And the chef came out, and he bought this truffle, this white truffle, and he shaved the white truffle on top of the pasta. And, for something so simple, you've got eggs and flour, there was butter, a little bit of Parmesan cheese, and then there's white truffle on top. And all those small amount of ingredients, quite a small little portion, but the flavour, I've never forgotten that flavour. I think everyone should be able to cook pasta. I'm very passionate about cooking, but I'm very passionate about cooking pasta. And I think the one dish that everyone should know how to cook is a very simple spaghetti al pomodoro. So basically a tomato spaghetti. It's so simple. Even with just a tin of tomatoes, a little bit of olive oil, sliced garlic, a little bit of fresh basil, empty your chopped tomatoes into the dish, reduce it by half, cook your pasta. Make sure the pasta is really al dente. Take the pasta out. Don't tip the pasta into a colander. Take the pasta out with a pair of tongs or with a spoon and add it to the sauce. Because that way you can take some of the pasta water and carry on cooking the pasta in the sauce. So it actually penetrates into the pasta. So you end up with this lovely flavour of the tomato sauce. What people tend to do is they tend to cook the pasta on the cooking instructions. On the packet it'll say 10 minutes, and they always cook it for 10 minutes, and so it's overcooked by the time you take it out. And when you tip the pasta into the colander, steam is hotter than boiling water, so the pasta's always going to be overcooked. It'll be dry, and when you put the pasta into the pan, it's going to suck up all the juice, so you end up with this congealed blob of pasta. Always take the pasta out from the pan, add it to the sauce, cook it 2 minutes less than the packet says, add a ladle or two of that hot pasta water, and just reduce it down. Toss it so you release the starch from the pasta into the sauce to thicken it, and you will always have a delicious plate of pasta. So it's definitely pasta with tomato sauce. My expertise in Italian food, having won many awards in Italian food, and I haven't got an Italian bone in my body, but I feel I have an Italian soul, so I think I'm an expert on Italian food. And sharing my knowledge, sharing my experiences, and my passion for Italian food, and to create dishes that are simple and that can be replicated all over, and that they can be consistent, and in dishes that people would actually really enjoy cooking. It's something that they actually would hopefully have a passion for. But I think the thing about Italian food is you have to have a passion for it, because it is simple and it's using ingredients and getting the most out of the ingredients. So I think all the recipes that I've created are about simplicity and about being able to be delivered, but of great quality. The one kitchen gadget I cannot live without is a pestle and mortar. Everyone has all these fancy electronic gadgets and temperature controls and all that kind of thing. I'm very much a sort of classic cook. I cook in a very classic way. I admire various techniques of cooking, and I use some sous vide things. But for me, the most brilliant tool is a pestle and mortar, because you can crush things, you can make sauces in them, you can make the start of any delicious soup or any kind of sauce like pesto. You can make a wonderful pesto just by crushed some garlic with some salt, add some pine nuts, add some basil, add some olive oil, a little bit touch of water, and you can make a lovely sauce. And you can actually feel it when you're grinding the pestle and mortar. When you actually got that granite running together, it's just, you can actually really feel what you're making, and that for me is the most important tool I have. What I would always get people to understand, or I always say to people, is to always trust your instinct. Anyone that's just started cooking, they should always trust their instinct, because the thing about cooking is very instinctive. And if you kind of work in a way where you're not actually thinking and you're not listening to what your thoughts are, your instincts are, then it won't kind of work. You have to develop that. You have to trust yourself. And I think if you trust your instinct, always season things, always taste things, and always ask the question why. If you don't ask the question why, you'll never learn. If I was an Intercontinental Hotels Group brand, I'd have to be an Intercontinental, because my restaurant is called Theo Randall at the Intercontinental, and for me, I've been with Intercontinental. My restaurant's been with Intercontinental for 7 years, and so I've learned a lot about the brand and how it works, and I feel that my brand and Intercontinental sit very well together. What I've had with Intercontinental is the support of my restaurant, and giving me the opportunity in the first place, because I opened a restaurant. I wasn't that well known. I mean, I was known in the industry because I was the chef partner of the River Cafe, but what Intercontinental gave me was a chance, an opportunity. And being able to get that opportunity, then it was the greatest thing you could ever give someone. And having your name above the door on Park Lane is pretty special.